Hello and welcome back to Friday Minis. Now, some weeks ago I talked about the Windows Startup folder. I mentioned how you can put certain things under a special folder in the Start menu, and that allows them to start up right when your computer starts up. In the comment section of that video, I got a very interesting comment from a user called xXTurnerLP. They mentioned that there is a special command you could put in called shell:startup that will open that folder. My recommendation was to type out the entire file path, which is of course much longer and much more difficult to remember, but they said just use shell:startup. So, well, I tried it and it worked. Of course, this only works from the Run menu, not from the Start menu search bar, but that's still great. I now no longer have to remember that entire path. And that got me thinking. This shell:, sort of prefix is not something that I was familiar with. And I wondered what secrets it holds. I wanted to see what else was linked to that shell prefix. And that led me down this giant rabbit hole of all the special paths that Windows provides. In fact, we go beyond paths, we also go into special file names that do special things. So today I found a few interesting ones to share with you. As a reminder, to use these shortcuts, you have to use the Run menu, which you can get to by pressing Windows R. This pops up your Run dialog box, where you can then say something like shell save games, let's say, to go to our save games folder. Except this isn't really, the save games folder that Steam typically uses. For example, this one is in your user folder. Steam likes to use the version in your documents folder instead. So while this is great, while this is interesting, you still have to rely on the fact that programs actually use these folders. So there are many such shell shortcuts, but I think one of them that are more functional is the one called shell send to. This essentially opens up your send to folder. You see this folder whenever you right click something and you say send to. So you can see that the options are, more or less the same, right? Between the folder and what we see in the menu here. This wasn't what I had before. In fact, previously I also had send to options for mail, which uses the default Windows mail client, something I don't use, and fax, which is something that nobody I know has ever used in their life. So that's why I basically removed those. So yeah, these are shell shortcuts. Remember, you have to use the Run menu to get at them. I've tried using the command line, I've tried using shortcuts, none of those work. They have to come through the Run dialog box. So that's one disadvantage of this method. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Then I went deeper. Now, all the different control panels in Windows are actually, sort of standalone little programs of their own. And what you can do is, you can access them directly, including some of the ones that have been hidden away. Those that came from earlier versions of Windows that, are considered deprecated, but not fully removed from the operating system just yet. If you know the path of any control panel item, you can simply type it in. For example, this is the control panel for the keyboard and region settings of your computer. In fact, we can take it one step further. According to this Stack Overflow answer, what you can do is you can create a new folder and give it this name. Now, I've had to clean up some leading and trailing spaces, but once I was done with that, the icon of that changed. The icon changed to something completely different, and when you double click on that, it's no longer an empty folder. It goes to this interesting page which they call God Mode, that allows you to touch a lot of different control panels, including some of those that you couldn't normally access. So that's interesting. Then I went even deeper. Now, you've probably seen things like the app data link, right? Particularly if you're a Minecraft player, you've been going there to install your mods. But the thing about that is that it is a system variable. Anything that starts and ends with these percentage signs are variables. What this means is they are set somewhere, and if you know what they are, you can go look at them. So I found this link page which endeavors to list as many of these variables as they could find. And what they found are some, including some undocumented ones. While some of these are indeed paths that you can put in the address bar or the run menu, so for example ones that bring you to your system folder or to your program files folder, there are also others that are actual values that you have to go into the command line and see. Open your command line by typing cmd in your run dialog box and simply say echo plus the name of a variable to see its value. So here are some interesting ones. For example, here's one that shows what firmware you have. It doesn't give you a lot of information, but hey, it's good to know. You can even see things like exit codes. This is something that probably only programmers really care about, but remember, when a program terminates, it gives you an exit code, which tells you whether it's terminated properly or not. You can use that variable to check the last exit code, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, turns out your computer has a lot of these interesting things that support its operation, but are not directly available for you to use. Doesn't mean they're not there, doesn't mean they're not usable. You just need to know the right words to find them. That's all there is for this episode of Friday Minis. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, you're watching 0612 TV with NERDfirst.net. Thank you very much for watching. If you like my work and are feeling generous, you can shoot me a one-time donation on PayPal or sign up for a recurring one on Patreon. Of course, you can simply like, comment, and subscribe. You know the deal. For more videos, links to my channel and a related playlist are on screen. Thank you for your support.